I got not one, but two. Not one, but two. There you go. One, but two videos. Two videos to show you. It is AOC and the squad at its finest. And if it were not for Roger Meadows, good friend of the show, I would not have seen this video. Now, this video came out on April 10th of 2024. And there was once a time, a long time ago, where if there was a video having all the squad members, at least going on for 2 hours, it would get millions of views. It would. It would. There was a time. But this is a segment from the New York Progressives titled AIPAC is Toxic Forum. And it came out April 10th of 2024. And AOC is there. And so is Nina Turner on how we have to work together to help the squad because AIPAC is toxic. Folks, try not to rage out. Hear me out, because I got a follow-up video that shows AOC's own hypocrisy, in which she will be saying how she justified her decision to funnel more money to the pro-genocide party, the DCCC, for the first time. So see, and all it has to deal with making sure that Democrats still get the majority in the House. See, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Democrats have to win, at least according to the squad, right? But we have to help the squad because AIPAC is coming after them, even though the squad doesn't lift a finger for us. And when we did ask them to fight, they said no. Never forget Force the Vote in 2021. Never forget it. So, folks, don't rage out. Don't punch your screens. Give it up for AOC.
Okay, here we go. Now they're okay. It's working. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Hello, Naipan. As always, it's so wonderful to be able to connect with you all and to engage with you all, especially on tonight's topic, which is so incredibly important, which is tackling and taking on AIPAC. This is the cycle where I think we are seeing this confrontation with AIPAC happen head on for the first time. Everybody, this is a bare knuckle fight that we're going to be having this cycle. It is long past due, and we should relish it, because for so long.
By the way, yes, Nina Turner, I will be playing the video segment of Nina Turner in here. And never forget, the squad didn't back up Nina Turner. Isn't that funny? Like, she's in a live stream to help the squad to fight AIPAC, but they didn't help her out. I mean, AOC at the last minute, on the last day, or at least the day before the election for Nina Turner for that Ohio seat in which she lost to Chantel Brown, then AOC endorsed her. We're ruled by clowns, and I paused at a perfect time. We're like I got the comment section right there. And AOC just looking, it almost looks like she's reading it like, oh my God, what? Uh-oh. We don't want AOC's hypocrisy to be shown.
The scepter and the fear of standing up for Palestinian human rights and standing up and actually fighting for a sustainable and lasting peace has been this like third rail in American politics. And I can tell you, as a member of the House, how often there's been vote after vote where I see members on the House floor even say that they know that this isn't right. They know that this is imbalanced, that it's wrong, that there's absolutely no conditions, particularly for human rights, when it comes to military assistance going from the United States to Israel. And they know themselves, but they a lot of times will vote for it anyway because they feel like AIPAC will primary them out of office and that they will not be able to fight for health care.
You heard that. They're afraid because of AIPAC, even though they're owned by AIPAC, because they can't fight they can't fight for health care. They can't fight for student debt forgiveness. You heard that. But this is an important forum to help the squad. Because if we vote Democrat, if we vote progressive, then things will get done. I've heard this lie before. It's no wonder why the Democrats are losing voters. I talked about this on Larry Sharp's show. Hell, we talked about it on Due Dissidence. Everybody in independent media is talking about Democrats are losing voters. And if you look at voter enthusiasm and voter engagement, let's take two states, for example, right? my home state of Illinois, and let's also look at the great state of Hawaii. Why not? These are two solid blue states. Voter turnout for both those primaries have been the lowest they've ever been. In comparison to 2016 and 2020, 2024 was absolutely pathetic for the Democratic primaries. They're not getting the voters. People are not engaged. People are leaving the Democratic Party. But, oh, no, we got to sympathize with these Democrat politicians because, oh, AIPAC's there. Well, the Supreme Court legalized bribery, and you had Democratic and Republican politicians buy into it, allow themselves to get prostituted out by corporations and lobby groups. But AOC, maybe, I don't know. Paused at a perfect time, too. She looked shocked at me like, why are you speaking these words of violence to me, Kit? Because. Why is this important? When you constantly vote for these Democrats and, yes, Republicans in office, they'll tell you things you want to hear, and then they do that 180, and they go right back to business of getting that big donor money and also doing their insider trading and all those other wonderful things they like to do on the side, all the while ignoring us. Let's rewind this.
No conditions, particularly for human rights, when it comes to military assistance going from the United States to Israel. And they know themselves, but they a lot of times will vote for it anyway because they feel like AIPAC will primary them out of office and that they will not be able to fight for health care or any other issues because the strength of this lobby and the strength of this organization is so strong. And this is the cycle where we've decided between the absolute indiscriminate attacks and an unfolding genocide in Gaza that we are standing up and saying enough. And we are going to stand up, and from day one.
Has the squad really stood up for the people of Gaza? Type 1 for Kit, you awful man. Don't you understand? They're playing a tightrope game of politics. They have to be associated with the Democratic Party in order to get things done. They're just keeping their powder dry for the right moment. We just got to trust them this time. It'll happen. We got to make it happen. We got to trust them. They would never once lie to us or sell out their values. AOC would never start crying as soon as Nancy Pelosi starts wagging her finger at her, changing her no vote to a present. You awful man. They got a plan. Type 2, they don't got a plan. They weren't standing up. 6 months in, standing up? Since when? I wonder how many 2s there'll be in the chat. I wonder.
Called for a ceasefire in the region since day one, have advocated for the human rights of Palestinians. And from day one, they have put a target on our back. And
really? What? Look, I think we all saw your meltdown at the movie theater when some activists were confronting you, and you were just saying like, "Oh, this is messed up. How dare you?" Well, people were asking you to say the word. You did say it in Congress, but then again, you still refused to really talk about it beforehand. Before you got confronted by those protesters, you weren't using the word genocide.
And we took these stances not for any even political reason, but for a moral reason, because it's the right thing to do. And we know that a lasting peace for anybody in the region, Israeli or Palestinian, is completely unsustainable so long as Palestinians are dehumanized and their human rights not respected. And so what that means is that this year, AIPAC is coming to New York State in a
Golden Monarch. This is a family-friendly show. Be nice.
way that they have never come before. Sometimes they work as a special interest organization, but here they are seeking to divide our state and unleash some of the ugliest and most racist attacks that they can potentially unleash into the state of New York. And we know that they're going to do this because not only have they already started, but they've run this playbook in other states and other places before. They came out and they saw former Congressman Andy Levin really speak up with courage.
By the way, folks, AIPAC has been in New York City and in New York State for quite some time. It's not they decided to fly in there. They're everywhere. They're going to be everywhere. And 40 Democrats have been bought and sold and owned, stamped, signed, sealed, delivered by AIPAC. They're owned. You'd be surprised that even good old Joe 30330 has had his association with AIPAC and other pro-Israeli lobby groups. Our whole government's bought, not only by corporations, but by foreign national governments as well.
And they worked to try to oust him in a primary in Michigan last cycle. But this is important in this moment because we are going to stop them in their tracks right here in the state of New York. They have already launched primary challenges against Summer Lee, against Jamal Bowman. I now have a primary challenge. Ilhan Omar has a primary challenge, and Cori Bush all have primary challenges.
Now, maybe things would be better for you guys if you actually did fight for progressive values. You see, this is something I've informed and had conversations with conservatives and libertarians, and yes, even some Trump supporters too, because sometimes, occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally, I get a question from a conservative or a Trump supporter or a libertarian, like, "Hey, how come AOC and the Democrats have been doing a piss poor job? How come people are not flocking to them?" It's because they never were who they said they were, these Democrat lawmakers, part of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. They constantly compromised, bent over backwards, and went ahead, hook, line, and sinker, in bringing all their supporters into the Democratic Party, the neoliberal machine, and doing nothing, becoming part of the machine. Maybe AOC and the whole squad would have gained huge amount of capital, political capital, if they actually, I don't know, followed through with forced to vote, if they really did it. Who knows what would happen? But I'm pretty sure there would be more enthusiasm for the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, dare I say it, but you can't reform something that's inherently corrupt. You can't fix something that is bound to fail. And the squad leaves much to be desired for.
And I want to be very clear that AIPAC, which stands for the American Israel Political Action Committee, I believe.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for breaking it down for us, teacher. Jesus, this word salad. I'm sorry to keep you guys through this, but bear with me. I got another video that's going to show her hypocrisy. Don't worry. It'll be fine. Just hang in there. We're going to make it. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. All right, cool. We don't have that much long left in it. It's fine. We're going to be okay. Just breathe in and out. We'll make it through it.
I believe I'm getting that right. Is not representative or in alignment with the views of the vast majority of Americans, of Democrats, and frankly, increasingly, and especially generationally, many in the Jewish community either. They seek to artificially conflate some of the most conservative and war hawkish stances and some of the most pro-Netanyahu stances and conflate it with bad faith accusations that criticisms of the Netanyahu administration, criticisms of how Gazans are treated are somehow equal to anti-Semitism.
I want to pull up GHU81 super chat here. Funny, since she abstained from funding the Iron Dome funding after Pelosi finger wag, while Jamal Bowman and Ilhan voted in favor. Like Biden, all talk, but actions show who they are. I would also include Rashida Tlaib. Yes, because the squad has shown their hypocrisy. When we've asked them to fight, they don't show up. When we've called them out, we've been talked down to. When we push back, we're told that that's violence. And now they need our help. But I'll break it down to you. What they need is that ding, 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 money. Cash money. Give them money. Money them now. Money us. Money us now. Give me money. That's where we're at. Let's continue on.
And we know that that is not true because so many of us that you'll hear even tonight from the Jewish community in activism understand that a commitment to human rights has nothing to do with that. And so we must stand up undeterred. But we need to understand how serious this threat is. Jamal Bowman has a very serious primary challenge that is largely financed by AIPAC, millions of dollars. And the first,
maybe if Bowman wasn't a clown, things would be different. But we're not in that world, are we, AOC?
Quarter alone, over, I believe, about half of the contributions came from AIPAC in his first quarter, and they just released second quarter, where they are raising significant resources. They are financed by Republicans. They endorse Republicans who supported the January 6th attacks, and it's so important to.
It's always January 6th. Always January 6th. They got to bring up that day. I'm tired of that day.
Understand that the threats to democracy, both that Netanyahu represents in Israel and also that Donald Trump represents in the United States, are both being supported by many of the individuals who financially support AIPAC as well. This is a question of democracy. This is a question of making sure that New York State is not torn up by the racist attacks that AIPAC engages in. And I want to be very clear here that I know that my goal, and I know all of our goal, should not be just to survive this primary challenge. Our goal should be to stomp these primary challenges.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It does look like she's reading a script. She probably has something written out. But okay. So she's saying we got to stop these primary challenges. We got to do all that. I think you've all sat through enough of that. So now, hold on. AOC once again takes the floor. But shout out to Hotspot. AOC justifies her decision to funnel more money. Now, this came out, just so y'all know, April 13th. That forum happened April 10th. So that was just a few days ago of 2024. So it all happened this year. AOC justifies the decision to funnel more money to the other pro-genocide party, the DCCC, for the first time. If Democrats do not retake the House in November, I do not have confidence that a Republican majority would certify the results of a presidential election, because it all comes down to this election cycle to stop Donald Trump. We got to stop Trump.
First and foremost, if Democrats do not retake the House in November, I do not have confidence that a Republican majority would certify the results of a presidential election. The threat of fascism is very real and very serious.
We don't have a democracy. We have an oligarchy, okay? We've had politicians for years in office. We've had politicians profiting and doing insider trading. And this whole fantasy of fascism taking over. We've had sitting U.S. presidents sign the genocidal order of the destruction of the Native American tribes. We've had presidents do that. Okay? Now, Donald Trump, for all his problems, he wasn't one of those presidents. Those kind, well thought out, gentlemanly presidents who signed those orders. Trump's got his problems, but everyone trying to impose this idea that he is Hitler 2.0. Trump and Hitler are two different people altogether. I could disagree with Trump, but he's not good old AH, okay? He's not him. He's not that guy of the Germanian Third Reich. This whole fear of, oh, we're going to lose our democracy. We're going to lose everything. No, you're not. We've already lost it.
And it's probably at its most serious and we've seen in the last 2 to 4 years in the history of this country, frankly, in some of the history of this country. And so that's number one. Number two, the path to the majority runs through New York State. And this fight has come here to our home. The fight for abortion rights, the fight for democracy is right here in our backyard here in New York State. And I think it's really important that New Yorkers, whether it's from members of Congress to just us as everyday voters, take ownership over protecting the country and protecting our rights and freedoms. So that to me was a big piece of this, and doing our part to make sure that we can win back the House majority, hopefully win a trifecta, and try to pass major changes on healthcare, education, climate, and more.
Like any abusive partner, they'll smile at you and say, see, I've changed. I'm not going to steal your credit card. I'm not going to steal your car. I'm not going to cheat on you. I'm not going to eat all the food in your refrigerator. You help me out, and this time things will be different. But hold on, folks. Give it up for Nina Turner. Nina, did the squad give you the middle finger the last time? Not once, but twice you asked them for help.
Me more hopeful. So just back to you, Nina. Do you have an answer when people say there's no point in participating in electoral politics?
Yes. Oh, hang on. This one's a doozy. Roger Meadows, thank you for this one. Hey, do electoral politics still matter to you? Type 3-4. Yes, Kit, they do, you awful bigoted man. You cis white male. They matter. Type 4. I don't even care anymore. I wonder how many 4s look in the chat. I wonder.
Yeah, first of all, I acknowledge their frustration. I tell them I want you to go vote, even mad as hell. Just show up. And even if you skip certain segments of the ballot, you have to understand that the local nature of politics is vitally important. There are health and human services levies on that ballot. There are judges on that ballot. There are other things on the ballot besides the Congress and the president. And so oftentimes politicians or politician types ignore the pain and the suffering that people are feeling. If people do not feel in their lived experience that things are getting much better for them, it doesn't matter what the Dow Jones says, because the Wall Street is working. It's working for the.
This is a word salad. This is a word salad to make people feel guilty about the idea of not supporting the squad.
The ultra wealthy in this country, but it ain't working for Big Mama and Big Papa down the way and around the corner. And so it is easy for people to get very frustrated and deflated, even in some of the best times. This time, not only are people dealing with the residue of a pandemic, they're dealing with the full-on onslaught, slaughter, genocide in the Gaza. And people are really feeling, I think, more hopeless than they have in a very long time. And so it is important that they have to go vote. It is the least that they can do. And I love how Sister Beth, voting is only one part of the process. It's not the only part of the process. So Sister Catherine, I tell them go vote. I'm mad. You mad as hell? Hell, I'm mad as hell too. Let's just go. We going in there and we mad as hell. But you have to participate in the process, because the other side, whatever the other side is going to participate in the process as well. So you sitting back in a representative democracy saying you're not going to participate cedes that territory to the other side automatically. They don't even have to work for it, because ultimately one of their tactics is to get people so deflated and so frustrated and so outraged that they refuse to even move. And the beautiful part about uncommitted, let's talk about a real live example happening.
Now, wait a minute. The reason why maybe people are deflated, the reason why maybe people are exhausted, is because every time that they went to stand up for the squad never stood up for them. Every time we've asked them to fight back. Nina Turner, you were there when Jimmy Dore was forced to vote. I remember that live stream. It's clear as day. I remember that. Over 100,000 people tuned in for this huge historic event, the Great Reveal, which, by the way, I'll call it the Great Reveal, in which we asked the squad to bring the ruckus. You were part of it too. You were there. You were part of that live stream. I remember it. I'm not crazy. Well, not yet. I soon will be. But I remember it clear as day. And when we asked the squad to stand up, they stood down. They voted for Mama Bear, Nancy Pelosi, and all those 15 congressmen and women who are part of the Force to Vote petition didn't fight for Medicare for all. They didn't force the vote. Force to vote, as we all have learned now, is actually an effective strategy thanks to Matt Gaetz. He was able to prove that it's an effective strategy and it could shake the foundations of our republic. It can be done. The reason why people aren't tuning in or showing up is because the squad showed us how they really feel about fighting.
Then in real time, the beauty of uncommitted is it said to folks, go and vote, even though you mad as hell. I want to use Wisconsin as an example. Michigan got that party started, baby. So shout out to Michigan did that thing. But by the time we got to Wisconsin, it had already been cemented that Joe Biden was the nominee. Now, we knew that was going to happen anyway. I want to put all that stuff in the parking lot. But it was very clear. He had the delegates that he needed. What Wisconsin did is, now you know it takes a lot for Democrats to get out of their bed and say, I'm going to vote uninstructed anyhow. See, that is a positive breakthrough that people would still go out to send that message. We must continue to get up, because if the least we can do, the least you can do, people in Gaza living in famine, the ones who are still alive.
And the reason why people voted uncommitted or Gaza in these primaries wasn't because it's like they felt a need to vote. It was to voice their frustration at a party that has effectively abandoned them, made them feel guilty for even voicing out that opinion. Because I remember the attacks that corporate media and, yes, the Democratic Party has done to the uncommitted voters, the same Democratic Party that the Squad is associated with. Maybe people are voicing it out because they're just tired of a political party that says one thing and does something completely different. And before anyone types in the comment section, but Kit, the Republican Party is just as bad. I get that. I understand that a Republican Party has done its fair share of BS, but they never once put on a mask saying, oh, we care about Medicare for all. Oh, we care about student debt forgiveness. We care about this and that and all these other social issues, which is why I identify myself as politically homeless. Nina, the Squad abandoned you when you needed them to help you out for your election.
We got over 30,000 that we can count. I bet you it's upwards of 40, 50,000. See, there's some bodies that are missing that we can't even count. If those folks are over there suffering to that magnitude, and you mean to tell me over here in the United States, we can't even at least go vote? What I say historically from the Black lens is that ancestors fought, and some people literally died, and some lived and lost their livelihood because they dared to vote, thrown in jail and beaten because they dared to vote, called into the boss's office saying, don't get no big ideas, N-word, don't get no big ideas. If you go vote, you're going to lose your job. See, so there are other sacrifices that have been made that's deeper than I'm mad and I don't like nobody on the ballot, so therefore I'm not going to go vote. No, go in and write somebody in if you have to, but go and vote. And the localized nature of what is on that ballot is important.
This doesn't help. This doesn't inspire enthusiasm. What this does, it actually furthers more resentment, because this tells me, okay, I got to write in somebody's name, but no matter what, what's the other option? Well, I would say vote third party or independent. If there's nobody else on that ballot, then leave it blank. Or either that, write in uncommitted, however which way you want. But this is not going to help out the Democratic Party, in which we've been told numerous times to keep calm, keep quiet, keep our powder dry. And when you do confront the Squad, like how Jose Vega and numerous other activists have done, we've been told, oh, you're being violent, you're being mean, or either that, you have the crowd saying, shut up, shut up, shut up.
I know that the light shines brightly on the Congress and who's running for president, but who your judges are matters. Local ballot initiatives matter. State ballot initiatives matter. So you got to go out there and vote. We have absolutely no excuse to go and vote in the United States of America, even at the hands of Republican-led legislatures and governors' mansions and Secretary of State's offices that are making it increasingly harder. We still have to do all that we can to get out there and vote anyhow. So go, because politics is working. Politics gonna work you even if you don't work it. So there's no way to not be involved in a so-called representative democracy. And I call it so-called because big money, one of the things we absolutely have to do is to get big money's influence out of politics.
How can you get big money out of politics when the same Squad refuses to hold its own party accountable? They're not going to fight Mama Bear Nancy or Hakeem Jeffries. Let's face it, if there's going to be a force to vote, and there probably will be one very soon, shockingly, I'll get more on that later. If there's going to be one, we do understand that AOC has already said that she's going to support Hakeem Jeffries, who's, surprise, surprise, taking money from AIPAC. That awful, awful organization, according to AOC. But because he's a Democrat, part of the DCCC and all that other good stuff, she's going to stand in solidarity. See, she speaks out of both sides of her mouth. And Nina Turner, what you doing?
Right. It's in everything, right? And I like to say, I make myself a real bore with kids, and I like to say, go look up Fannie Lou Hamer, because she lost everything. She was beaten, and she would not stop. And that is what we all have to do, and we have much easier lives than she did.
Relatively speaking, absolutely.
So we had Congressman.
Okay, so there's a little bit more to that, but helping out the squad. We got to help out the squad. But just your reminder right here, folks. Remember, this was AOC's response.
First and foremost, if Democrats do not retake the House in November, I do not have confidence that a Republican majority would certify the results of a presidential election.
So it all has to come down to the presidential election. It all comes down to Donald Trump, the orange boogeyman, woogie boogie boogie. I'm not going to play this whole, well, I'll play a little bit more of it. But it all comes down to Trump, including making sure that we have all Democrats control the House, even if they get that fancy AIPAC cash money. See, it's all about manipulation. The progressive coalition that existed from 2016 through 2020 doesn't exist.
The threat of fascism is very real and very serious, and it's probably at its most serious than we've seen in the last 2 to 4 years in the history of this country, frankly, in some of the history of this country. And so that's number one. Number two, the path to the majority runs through New York State. And this fight has come here to our home. The fight for abortion rights, the fight for democracy is right here in our backyard here in New York State. And I think it's really important that New Yorkers, whether it's from members of Congress to just us as everyday voters, take ownership over protecting the country and protecting our rights and freedoms. So that to me was a big piece of this, and doing our part to make sure that we can win back the House majority, hopefully win a trifecta, and try to pass major changes on healthcare, education, climate, and more.
Yep, that's all it comes down to. So I'm going to end this segment with a question to you, my audience. Should we, as those who are now politically homeless, should we just fall in line and help out the squad and give them another chance? Type 5 for yes, Kit. This time it's different. I think they've heard us. I think they've heard us loud and clear. Or type 6, no. No, we're not playing this game again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't get fooled again. If you get what I'm referencing, I love you.